You are tuned into 91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. It's time for Local Motion. It's the 5 o'clock hour here, where Local Motion airs live each and every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, Local Motion, as well as subscribing wherever you might do your streaming from. It's all there. Lots of great interviews to upload. And now we're going to get today's guest on the line and say hi to Byron. Hello, you're there. I always love when I start off and I don't disconnect people. It's a good sign, Byron. It's a good sign.
It's true. Connection is so important.
It really is. And not the funny thing is, it really has happened a couple of times to where I've dropped people, but that's not the case here today. So thank you for being here. I would like to do a brief...
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, Byron, please, anytime. I'd like to do a brief introduction, if I may, and start off by saying... Bassist, singer-songwriter Byron Isaacs was one of the founders of the band Ola Bell. Played with Levon Helm's Midnight Ramble Band, including both of Levon's Grammy-winning albums. Byron has performed and recorded with many musicians, including Joan Baez, Bruce Springsteen, Roseanne Cash, Mary Fall, Ryan Adams, Jackson Brown, The Wait Band, Larry Campbell, Teresa Williams, just to name a few. He is part of his band Lost Leaders with Peter Cole, and he records and tours with the Lumineers. Welcome back to Local Motion, Byron Isaacs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, it was such a thrill to see you this past weekend perform. I've seen you a couple of times over the past month. We saw you with Lost Leaders, of course, at the Falcon, and then again this past weekend, home is what we call it, right? Levon Helm Studios. And
yeah, it really is home.
Yeah. And I think you played last night with Larry and Teresa also, correct?
Yeah, we played down in the city at the New City Winery location, which is quite nice, I have to say.
Yeah, it's right on the river there, right? Right on the, what is that?
Yeah.
Right on the Hudson?
Yeah, it sure is. Right at 15th Street and the water.
Yeah, right by Little Island.
Very end of 15th. Yeah, right next to Little Island, which looks really cool. I have some friends who've actually played events on that little island. I haven't been on there yet, but it looks really cool. I can't wait to get over there.
Pretty cool.
Have you been? Have you checked it out?
I have. I haven't been there for music. I just checked it out because I was at the Whitney and I saw it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, let's go across the street. And, that whole little area, of course, and Gramercy and all of that. It's just such a cool spot. And the theater at Little Island looked really nicely done as far as the sound booth being enclosed, like really professionally done. I think it can fit a couple hundred people there. So it'd be interesting to see what comes there. So, yeah. And then last night, of course, you playing with Larry and Teresa and Brian Mitchell. I saw pictures. He joined you guys. It was almost like the whole Midnight Ramble band.
It was fun. It definitely had some of that Midnight Ramble flavor.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And Brian just got up with his accordion, and it was killer. Like God, I love his piano playing and his organ playing, but he's also just a tremendous accordion player, really with his own sound. I've never known another accordion player to have that approach to the instrument. He's really, carved out his own little personal niche on the accordion. I think he could play any kind of music on the accordion.
Yeah,
truly.
It's so cool when he breaks that out. I just, it's like, oh man, look at that, because you don't see that instrument all the time. And when
you don't. And as Larry Campbell actually said on Mike last night, he's like, yeah, Brian is shut me up with all my accordion jokes. And it's true. Like, once Brian is done, playing the accordion, it's like, you're like, well, what is so funny about the accordion? Nothing, really.
Really nothing. No, not especially when Brian Mitchell is playing it. That's for sure.
That's right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's step back in time a little bit. It's been a while since you've been on the show, and I love your history. You've got a great story. We all have stories, but yours is a pretty special one. You're a Houston native. And last week's guest, you came up through music, learning all of this, but I know you ended up going to Indiana with University, which of course they have a great music program there. Last week, my guest was Sean Pelton. And he also went to Indiana. I think he might be a few years older than you. So I think
that's right. We weren't there at the same time.
I was going to say it must be a little bit different. So Houston, when did you start noticing music? At what age?
As soon as I can remember, really. I have 3 siblings who are much older than me. 13 years, 11 years, and 10 years older than me. Mm-hmm. I was like the caboose child. And my earliest memories were in the car in Houston, because, you spend most of your life in the car in Houston, Texas, endless amounts of driving. And them all singing harmony, and with my mom, they had 4-part harmony going on all kinds of stuff, from show tunes to popular tunes of the day to, all kinds of stuff. They would work out harmonies on anything, and they would sing rounds, and they would learn really, really complicated rounds. And my sister actually was composing and making up songs too, and she wrote a few amazing rounds. Wow. That they would all sing.
The Von Trapp family singers.
And so, I really, from a young age, I came along and they started, they would teach me, all the weird harmony parts that they needed filled in, and so I think that really, led to me, I think of all the things that I do, probably what I do best is, singing harmony, and especially singing, weird, internal parts that are just hard, that's by themselves sound crazy, but that that fit in those niches and make a harmony really sound full. I think that's actually probably the thing that I do the most naturally.
Because it came to you so early. That's So I was born and bred a harmony singer. That's beautiful. That's a good thing. Did you have music in school, like band or orchestra?
Well, it's funny. No, I started choir in 7th grade, but before that, it was just the typical the recorder in music class, and you'd learn like on recorder. My mom put me in piano lessons when I was 6 because I'd been sitting picking out songs by ear on the family piano and was really enjoying that. But the teacher that she found for me was a really strict teacher. And when I would make me play the really, really dumb songs at the beginning of the book that I just hated, and I would go farther into the book and find tunes that were more fun to play, and I'd come in with playing those, and she would say, "No, you have to go back to the beginning and play," and it was very, and it just crushed me, and I was like, forget this. I just stopped playing piano altogether. And so my mom, pulled me out of the lessons, and at that point, and I was 6 years old, I never thought I'd be an instrumentalist. I kept singing, and then eventually I ended up in choirs, and I sang in choirs, in middle school and high school. But then my junior year of high school, I got drafted into the I sort of all of a sudden discovered bass.
Did you what? How? Did you listen to McCartney or what? What?
Actually,
why bass?
I guess it was actually my sophomore year that I discovered bass, because I was visiting. So we were living in Indiana at that point, but we'd moved up there just 2 years before. So we had just been in Indiana for a couple of years. We moved up there with my mom, who got into a graduate program at Indiana University. So she was getting her PhD, and we had left Texas for that. And so, but my sister and her husband were still down in Austin, and we would go down and visit several times a year. And that's kind of was the family hub then, was my sister's place in Austin at that point. And I found under my sister and her husband's bed this big, long, dusty case. Because you nose around when you're a kid. I was 15, and I opened it up, and inside was this like big electric bass. It was just like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It was it's actually the bass. It was they ended up giving it to me for my next birthday.
Oh, wow.
Because I was so taken by it.
Is that the Telecaster bass?
He hadn't been playing it. That's the Telecaster bass. So I, immediately found some of like who were playing other instruments in jazz band, but we formed a little basement band, like doing like Who's songs, like covers, and did some original songs too. But we're just like, playing very odd rock and roll music.
What did you call yourselves?
Very badly. We were called Potato Skin Revolution.
I love it. Potato Skin Revolution. How?
Yeah.
How?
That was my first band in high school. Yeah, and and so those guys ended up being among a couple of other friends who dragged me into the jazz band at the beginning of junior year.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I started playing the upright bass, and was given my first jazz album, which was a Charles Mingus record, which completely blew my mind.
Wow!
And started me down that path for a while. And jazz was my life, and I didn't play anything but jazz for a good, 7 or 8 years.
That long? Wow!
At that point, yeah. I was in. By the time I moved out to New York. I moved here to play jazz, and that was, my whole focus at the time.
And when you went to Indiana,
friend,
you went there for jazz study or jazz performance, or what did you?
Yeah, I was playing jazz. That's right. But I also had classical lessons, which on the upright bass, which were really good. Like those one-on-one lessons with the bass instructor were fantastic. Just for getting my fundamentals together. I hated it at the time because it was just time away from my studying jazz harmony and, practicing that stuff. But, over the years, I've realized how essential that was. Mm-hmm. It was really, really good to have gotten that foundation on the instrument. If for nothing else, just for, with instruments like that, like an upright bass, you can hurt yourself if you play it wrong. Mm-hmm. Like it takes a lot of strength to play the instrument to begin with, and if you are using those fast twitch muscles, which can't really carry a lot of, they're not strong muscles. Those muscles, mm-hmm. and you can really hurt them. And you can mess up your tendons. You can mess up your ligaments. You can really throw you can ruin your whole career if you don't get your fundamentals right on the upright bass.
I've heard many musicians have to go through occupational therapy or physical therapy because of that. So I've heard that.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And your daughter, who's a conservatory, a brilliant conservatory violinist.
We've had her when she started at occupational therapy because she wasn't holding the instrument correctly. So.
That's right, and just the smallest little adjustment can fix it. Mm-hmm. It's so strange, like getting those techniques together, and it's essential to get them together as soon as possible. When you're learning, so you get off on the right foot, right. And you're not trying to unlearn bad habits.
Exactly. So, what I think is great too. Sorry for interrupting, but your mom, and I know you just recently lost her, so I know how much she meant to you, and how much you loved her, and how much she was loved by your family as the matriarch of this wonderful family that you have. So. My love goes out to you for that.
Thank you.
The story, so beautiful that you and your mom went to college together. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, we were, for a few years there, we were, in school together on the same campus. It was pretty cool. Yeah, those were good times.
Yeah. And then you picked up and you went to New York City.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
After a stint on cruise ships.
Yeah. How did you get
spent
that?
a time on cruise ships.
Yeah.
Well, it was a thing that a lot of the college students were doing, during the summers.
Mm-hmm.
And so the summer after my freshman year, some of the other guys in the jazz department put together, a band, and we all went out. And my mom and I at the time were living on her student loans. There wasn't any other money coming in, so it was tight.
Yeah.
So I was able to send money home while I was working on the cruise ship, and that was really necessary at the time. And especially right in that time, my mother's coursework was done, and it was time to begin her dissertation. And when your coursework is done, the loans stop.
Mm-hmm.
But she still had to work full time on getting her dissertation together. It wasn't really a great option for her to take a job at that. I mean, she actually did. She took she had a job. What was she doing? Dial America or something? Some horrible,
telemarketing or something.
Telemarketing.
Yeah.
She was just punching that clock to try to make ends meet. But it was really financially dire. So I did the summer, but then I ended up staying out and sending money back, and it ended up. I ended up not really getting much more than about a year and a half worth of time at Indiana University, because every time I would come back and re-enroll in school, after a few weeks, it became obvious that financially I just needed to go back out on the ship.
Yeah.
And so I got kind of stuck in a loop there
Mm-hmm.
for a few years until my mom's dissertation was done, and she got her doctorate and
Wow.
and then I went out for one more 6-month tour and saved the money to move to New York.
Wow.
And so I ended up not getting my degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I did get quite an education on the cruise ship.
Yeah. And there's nothing like playing in real life, and the time that you did have at Indiana was well spent also. So, it all kind of worked out the way it was supposed to. And your time in New York City, did you know anybody there when you moved?
The only person I knew was the girl that I marry.
Oh.
And I'm still married to.
Oh. Jessica.
She had, I went to school with her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And met her along the way. She went to a different college, but her brother Ethan and I were best buds in college, and so he brought me home.
Did he
for Thanksgiving
purposely introduce you to Jessica, or did he not introduce?
He was not in favor of our getting together. He didn't see anything good coming from his best friend and his sister getting together. He's like he'd be in the middle of that thing falling apart.
Oh my God.
He expressed he had definite definitive opposition to that, which didn't last. Of course, he was the best man at thing, but for a while there, he wasn't speaking to me.
Oh my gosh! Really? Wow.
He got over it.
And almost 3 decades later,
I had to prove that my intentions were pure.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think you proved your point. It's been almost 30 years. So, it's a beautiful thing. And you two are a lovely, lovely couple. You really are. She's a top-notch lady. So you both are.
Oh, well, yeah. I count myself as very lucky. I thank my lucky stars every day.
Yeah, you should. Absolutely. And likewise with her. So you both done good.
Oh, thank you.
Now, moving to New York, I love hearing that, you didn't just go right in and, got to be an A-list player. You actually worked a few odd jobs in New York, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I tried for a minute. I made it a half a day. I tried a telemarketing thing. I don't know how my mom did it. They had me. I lasted half a day. I was so upset by the whole experience because they had me calling these rural areas and trying to convince small business owners to get local 1-800 numbers that they didn't need.
Oh.
I was trying to sell people on things that they didn't need, people who just didn't even have the money for it. And I just realized just how corrupt, I don't know, it was eating away at my core all day. And so I got to like lunch break, and I walked out the door and I never came back.
Wow, good for
but
you.
I hit the street and I burst into tears.
Yeah,
Like, oh, I can't. So yeah. Then my next job was at the Strand bookstore, which I did for nearly a year. And that was a hard job, I have to say.
Well, you weren't like selling books, right? You were in the warehouse?
That's right. I was up on they had the warehouse on the 5th floor. So when the trucks would come up, these giant semi-trucks full of books would roll up, and we would, unload all these books, which are heavy, of course, onto these, dollies, and then load them onto a and then up to the 5th floor, and then so the elevator was going up and down while we're offloading, in these trucks, and blocking off 13th Street, and then we'd have to process the books, and that involved cataloging them, and then inputting them into the inventory, and then shrink wrapping them, and then pricing them.
Wow.
And then some of them would go downstairs to the floor, and then the rest of them would get boxed up and put out into the warehouse, like the last scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there was a very specific system for numbering and locating the boxes, for each book.
Wow.
It was an arcane process, and I ended up, toward the end of my time there, they had me on computers, like doing, and also like calling up vendors, and publishers, and like, I was helping out the buyer. And so he had me on buyer calls and stuff. And it was like, I think they were trying to groom me for greater things. But of course, the whole time I was just trying to figure out how to get to playing the Blue Note.
Exactly. But now when you were at Strand, were you playing nights out? Were you playing music during that time?
Yeah, I was. As much as I could, I was playing really, the kind of gigs that you play when you first get to town, like, little bars that would, like, you'd play in the corner, they'd move one table for you, and then a couple of you would like jam together in the corner. Sometimes it'd be me and a guitar player and maybe a saxophone player, and if we were lucky, we'd get a place that would allow a drummer, and then or we'd find a place with a piano, or there'd be a restaurant, where there'd be a restaurant gig, and then the gigs would start to get better and better, and it got then gigs playing at like hotels. So then I got gigs at there was a while there where I had 2 nights a week at the Waldorf Astoria, 2 nights a week Belt, and then another night at a friend's club that he had opened. He was a piano player, singer-songwriter named David. He opened up his own club, and so I was playing 5 nights a week, playing jazz.
And that's when you quit. Is that when you quit your day job?
So yeah, I mean, in a convoluted way, yeah. My final day job was at a rehearsal studio. So after the Strand, I worked at a rehearsal studio called Michiko Rehearsal Studios, which is just off of Times Square. It's still there, although it's moved across the street from where it was when I worked there. And I was actually fired from my last gig.
Oh, whoa.
I was the guy taking the, like the appointments and then setting up the rooms and like setting up the sound system and cleaning the bathroom. And the truth is my heart was not in it. And I was a lousy employee by that point. You know, I was very busy playing, and I was getting sloppy with the bookkeeping and I was not cleaning the bathroom, and I was just,
Right.
And so finally, with a heavy heart, my boss, told me that he thought it was time for me to go full time with music.
And thank God he did. That's a good thing.
Yeah, so it all worked out fine. It worked out, I've been back to see him, and there are no hard feelings.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, you know what?
Yeah.
It catapulted you to do exactly what you are doing. So it's been quite some time since you've had that day job kind of thing. So yeah, and good for you. I also want to commend you so much. Your performances always are so. You're such a classy, not over the top, but just know when to come in with the bass, and you just play it so eloquently. But the other thing that I admire with you is your songwriting. When did you start that process?
Well, so that story is kind of how I transitioned out of jazz. Yeah, a friend laid a Suzanne Vega record on me. In those mid-90s times, and when I was first in New York and playing jazz all the time, and there was just something about those songs, like the way that she combined music and poetry. I just never heard anything like that before. Of course, I knew Dylan, and I knew, and I always loved the Beatles, and the various solo works of those guys, and I loved rock and roll, and I loved some, but there was just something about just the singular voice that she had, and just that really was doing as an artist. I just never heard. I didn't know the possibilities of songs. Like that. It just hit me in this certain way. And it was an epiphany of sorts. And it was just like this voice inside of me said, I want to do that. I want to write songs. I want to, whatever that is, that magic, that weird magic that she's doing right there, I want to do that. And so, yeah, it started me on a path toward doing song music more, and starting to play with singers, and playing at the original Living Room, and with all those great artists who came out of Chennai, and then were the Living Room artists, and and that whole world of the late '90s, early 2000s singer-songwriter New York scene that was so fertile.
Yeah.
And and through playing, with singers is where I met all the Olabelle folks.
I was going to say that must have all tied in together with Olabelle.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's how that was born. And a couple of the other guys, Tony Leone and Glenn Pacha, were also jazz musicians who found themselves just really, really accomplished. Far more accomplished than I, really, in jazz. And they, but they felt a similar call to come in and play, to play song music, like singing, like vocal music, and stuff that focused more on the songwriting. And so we all, found each other, and it just it came about.
And it's a beautiful relationship because you guys are still friends. And didn't you play a couple of years ago or something at Levon's or something? Didn't Olabelle have a couple of dates?
We did, yeah. Oh, and I should say, actually, Fiona came out of jazz too.
Yeah.
Jazz singer. I did jazz gigs with Fiona before Olabelle.
Wow.
Because I also played in her singer-songwriter band doing her songs. But we did jazz gigs too. Like, she was a great jazz singer, man. Still is.
Right.
But yeah, we Olabelle never officially split up.
Right.
We're just on sort of an unofficial hiatus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, like we're always looking for opportunities to get back together again for another show.
Right. Well, I
And
hope that
we get something
continues. Yeah.
soon.
Yeah. I hope so too. Yeah, absolutely. And Joan Baez, you also performed with.
Yeah.
Speaking
that's
of
right.
another songwriting woman, wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And Mary
That was
Fall
fun.
too.
Joan is cool.
Oh my God, I bet. Oh, I bet. Yeah. And
Yeah,
Mary Fall,
ultimate cool.
another great songwriter.
Oh my gosh, yeah, she's fantastic. And I got to do a lot of songwriting with Mary, and she's really fun to write with. And you know, she's wonderful. I love Mary.
Oh, she seems like a sweet person.
I'd work with her again in a heartbeat. She's great.
Oh, hear that, Mary? You better hurry up before he goes out and tours the world again. And then, of course, Peter Cole, Lost Leaders. You know each other, what, at least 20 years, I think, right? Or close to it?
Yeah, I think we met in 99. I think it was 98 or 99. So yeah, a long time now.
The last century.
We've had several bands, and he and I met playing jazz. You know, and he's another jazz refugee. I already was I was transitioning out of being a jazz musician by the point that I met him. I was still playing jazz gigs, but you know, I knew that I was going down the songwriter route more. And you know, he and I were hanging out, and he was very interested in the singer-songwriter scene and what I was doing, and I played him some of my songs, and he was like, I want to do that. Let's do that. Let's make a band. And so I'm kind of, you know, in part responsible for turning him into a rocker.
Yeah. And you guys, your latest release, I just love it. I know you just performed at the Falcon a couple of weeks ago, you and Peter with Lost Leaders, of course, Will Bryant joining you and Lee Falco as well. And your last album, Promises. I play this a lot, and I love the track I Will Fulfill. Just so much fun.
Glad.
So much fun. So that's going to be on my list to play this afternoon. But beautiful music. Now, when we were at the Falcon, you guys kind of teased us a little bit and said there's some new music coming out.
Yeah. We're going to be putting out a series of singles that are most likely going to be a 5-song EP with a label that we just signed with called Amplify Entertainment. And we're really excited. It's nice to have a label.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And so we're going to, very soon we'll be releasing the first single for that.
Wow. Oh, that's so great.
I wish that I could give it to you today to play, but
right.
But
no.
I have to hold off.
Okay.
But you'll get it when the release date comes. You'll have it first.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll definitely love to play that on air here for sure. So that's very exciting. Good for you. I'm so happy for you. Do you have a name for the release yet, or not yet, or nothing you can tell us yet?
We have not decided on the name of the album yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, this last one was really cool. Promises. Great. Really well done. Of course, produced by our friend David Barron. I'm a huge fan of the man. And
me too. Who isn't?
Oh my gosh, you just can't say enough about him. His talent is off the charts. He's I think we said it last time you and I spoke, and I may not have used the word since, but he truly is a musical genius, and no, just over the top. So he produced this last one of yours as well. So then, of course, we have to talk about you're the bassist for the Lumineers, and the story you've told it probably 100 times, if not more. But how that transpired with good old Simon Felice. Please tell us the story in case listeners have not heard how you became part of the international band, the Lumineers.
All right. Well, yeah, I had met Simon or Simone, and he does go by either, at Brambles, when Levon was playing, Simon used to come by, and he would sit on the radiator right behind Levon, and so focused on Levon, like his whole body was he was just embodying what Levon was doing. It's like he was osmosing it. He would even he wouldn't air drum exactly along with Levon, but he would dance. He would dance the drumming. It was intense. And it was beautiful. And he was so into it, and on such a deep, soulful level. And there was always a point in the middle of, I would step off stage, and they would break it down. Levon would, get up and just with, Larry and Amy and Teresa, and he'd have his mandolin, and they'd step off the stage, and then Simon and I would chat, and we got to know each other a little bit during these little mid-show chats, and he kept telling me that he was going to call me for stuff, and so he, at a certain point, the calls did start to come. But they would always be last minute. He would call me, and I'd get this call, and this happened several times. He'd call me and say, "Hey, bye, it's Cy. What are you doing tomorrow?" And, of course, like anybody, tomorrow, right. I was always busy, It's like who can just drop everything at a moment's notice, Right. It was very funny. In fact, one time he called me to ask me what I was doing tomorrow, and what he was doing tomorrow was his main stage set at Mountain Jam.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah, he's like, Simon, you're calling someone at the last minute to play your set tomorrow? Like, it was just so fun.
Oh gosh.
I knew he was like a deeply soulful cat, but I also kind of thought there was something very mysterious about the way that he was operating, because he was so spontaneous with stuff. It just seemed crazy to me. And so finally this one time he calls me, same thing. "Hey, bye, it's Cy. What are you doing tomorrow?" And as it happened, I was free. And I just had to know what Simon was going to have up his sleeve, Right. And so it's like, I'm free, man. What do you have? And he said, "Great, I can't tell you what it is, but just take the train, earliest train you can get up to Rhinecliff Station. I'll have someone there to pick you up. It'll be at the clubhouse, and they'll fill you in when they pick you up."
Wow.
I was like, all right. And so this, of course, is just feeding the man of mystery narrative that I was already assembling in my head for him. And so, the whole train ride up, I'm like, what have I gotten myself into here?
Right.
This kid picks me up, and I think it was Max Siegel, actually.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah.
Picked me up at the train, and thought it was so funny that I had no idea who I was at the recording studio.
Did he tell you when you got in the car?
So he wouldn't tell me. No,
What?
He thought it was too funny. So I walked into the control room of the clubhouse, having no idea who was sitting there, and I find Wesley Schultz and Jeremiah Freites, and they're like, "Hi," and I'm like, "Well, hi, pleasure to meet you." Like, holy shit,
Hey, right.
Lumineers,
Wow.
good on you, Simon. I never ever would have guessed.
Oh my goodness.
And so, yeah, it was really funny.
Wow. And the rest is history. And what album was that for? Cleopatra, right?
That's right. Right. That was for Cleopatra. And originally it was just to do one song to see how it felt.
Right.
And so we did that one song, and then they said, "Wow, that's great. There's another song. You want to play on that?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm here."
Right.
And so I played another one, and then they were like, they had a little conversation. They're like, "We'd love for you to do the whole record if you're into it." I was like, absolutely. And so that sort of began the whole thing.
And you cleared your calendar for that after a little while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially when then later, we finished the album, and I just thought that they had me in there as a studio guy.
Mm-hmm.
it was like high fives all around. And I was like, good luck with the tour and all that. And and I went on back to my, back to my life. And about a month later, I get a call, from Simon again. He's like, hey, By, the guys would love for you to do the world tour with them.
Oh, I got goosebumps.
Like, okay.
Wow.
Wow. And I really had to think about that because I knew it would mean that I would have to leave the Wait Band, which I had helped to found.
Yeah.
I had to leave the Amy Helms Band, which I had put together. Yeah. I would have to leave poor Peter Cole sitting around waiting for me for months on end. I knew that I wouldn't have to quit Lost Leaders, but that Lost Leaders would, suffer a dearth of time
right
after that. It was kind of a big decision for me to weigh.
Sure. Absolutely.
And but I decided that I really wanted to see what it was like to that like had hits on the radio.
Yeah.
Like that's something I had never experienced before.
And stadium shows too. Do you remember the first
eventually,
show? Yeah.
I mean, let me tell you, the first show that we did for Cleopatra, the CD release party for Cleopatra was at Webster Hall in New York.
Yeah.
In the small room downstairs.
What?
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow.
And a year later, in 1 year, we did sold out shows at Madison Square Garden.
Oh my gosh.
We started small.
Wow.
It was small.
Wow.
Yeah. And it just grew and grew and grew that year. But I mean, we were not an arena band at all. We were a small theater. We were playing little clubs.
Amazing. And now look at it's like, sells out in an hour. It's crazy. And you did stadium shows. I mean, you opened up for U2, didn't you also?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. I mean, that was school for us.
Yeah.
Because, we did our little part. And then we'd go out and we'd watch them and what they would do and the way that they moved energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. They're, like them or not, I happen to love U2. I always did.
Yeah.
But, there are a lot of people, and, taste is subjective.
Absolutely.
May not be their cup of tea, but I would guarantee you that anybody who watched that stadium show would see that the way that they make a stadium sound and feel like a small club is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly they've got some chops there that are very hard to learn.
Oh yeah.
They are so damn good.
So good. So good.
They've got that dialed in. And we were doing the Joshua Tree tour.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is incredible. And, I love that album.
Mm-hmm.
And, after seeing several of their shows, because we would go out after our show and watch their entire set every night.
Yeah.
And after seeing it for I don't know, a handful of shows, Peter Cole actually came out and visited me, and we watched a couple of the shows at Soldiers Field. In Chicago, and we took a drive together down to Pittsburgh, along with the tour, but I drove with Peter instead of riding in the tour bus for that leg. On the drive, we decided to listen to Joshua Tree, the album, after having heard U2 do it 2 nights in a row, and man, it didn't sound as good as they were playing it live.
Yeah.
It sounded flat.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yep.
And it was shocking, actually.
Yeah. They feed off the audience. I've seen U2 at Yankee Stadium. I think it was, 80s, early 90s or something like that. And they just feed off the audience. And that comes into their live performance. Their recordings are so, like you say, they're okay. They're good, but.
And that's a seminal album.
Mm-hmm.
But they killed it.
Right.
They wiped the floor with that album.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
it was
right.
amazing.
Yeah.
It was just shocking.
Yeah.
So that was school for us.
It was. It was like a master
to
class.
Watch that every night.
Yeah.
It was a master class.
Yeah.
And I think we all resolved to figure out how to harness that energy.
Right.
And to telegraph what we're doing with that kind of intention, and to figure out how to clarify every part that every individual person was playing, to make as clear as possible. Because that was the thing, like honing in on each of those guys. What they were doing was just so strong and so clear that it made the whole thing extra powerful. Like it was not a blurry thing. It was crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that definitely has informed everything we've done since then.
Wow. Yeah, what a wonderful opportunity just to travel and be able to see something like that and be on that stadium stage, and just be like, I think it was you, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you said you get more nervous playing a smaller club like the Falcon or something, or Levon's,
absolutely,
than you do a big stadium show. I think it was you, right?
That was me for sure. I'm sure other people have said it. It seems to be pretty universal for people that I've talked to who've shared, all those similar experiences. The bigger the crowd gets, it just sort of gets abstract after a while.
Yeah.
But when it's really intimate and you're eyeball to eyeball with people, that's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah,
the
makes
hardest
sense.
thing for me is a house concert, honestly. Like when you're just sitting right in front of somebody, and you can hear them breathe, and it's just you and them, and you're playing your song. I mean, there's nowhere to hide.
Right.
It's just it's excruciatingly scary.
Yeah.
But get out in front of a stadium crowd. It's like, I don't know why it is, but that, I guess, because that intimacy has been diffused so much. It's loads easier.
Yeah. Well, you're getting some good practice doing the smaller shows, ready for the big stage again. And I know you have a couple of shows coming up this weekend, Dead On Live. And
that's right.
And then I think you've got a couple of dates beginning of December with the Lumineers before you go out on a European tour early of 2022. Is that all correct?
That is all correct.
Yeah.
You are good.
Yeah.
You are good.
And
you
Lumineers,
really do your homework.
I try. Lumineers also has a new release out, so we should tell listeners, although I think most of their fans probably already know because they're pretty followed by their fans. And
it's true, yeah.
Yeah, and tell us about the recording of Brightside, which of course you were part of.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it was fun. And, it was odd because it was, recorded during the pandemic. And so during the recording process, we, there was a lot of testing and, quarantining, isolation.
Yeah.
We created a little pod that we very scrupulously maintained to the point to where, we couldn't go food shopping for ourselves. We would have food delivered to us wherever, in the little Airbnbs where we were staying.
Yeah.
No visitors, no walking into stores, no
socialization.
Masks constantly.
No.
And, but, nobody got sick.
Yeah.
It worked.
Right. And it worked.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that record got made. And in some ways, I think that you can feel the pent up energy that we all had coming out in those tracks. Like, we were so happy to be together in the studio in those times that we were actually in the studio, all together. It just felt so good. It was like a release.
Right.
And so, that energy really got on tape, I think.
Yeah.
And it's such a strange time. I think there's going to be a lot of great music that came out of this,
Byron, there are people
kinds,
sending me new music almost every week. I am amazed at the caliber of talent that's coming out, and really people, I think, went one way or the other during the quarantine. They either could not be creative or they went completely the other way, and just all this new work is coming out, so so it's great. And I just have a few minutes left, so I'm going to leave with a track. We haven't even covered like Leave On or anything like that, so come back when Lost Leaders, when you guys release the new Lost Leaders, come back and let's talk some more, because we've just only touched the surface here. We haven't even dug deeper. So next time,
Rita,
we'll do it. Oh, beautiful! Thank you. And Byron, it's. I was telling Jessica the other day, you two deserve everything in the world, all the good stuff, and you guys have worked so hard, and no one appreciates getting good stuff until you've had nothing, and you've been in that place. So you appreciate everything, and these tours, and just to see you on stages, and so happy, and your photographs, and I could not be happier for you. And I say that from hundreds of people behind me saying the same thing.
Thank you for that, Rita. That's so sweet.
Yeah. Well, listen, you deserve it all, and enjoy the tour. Stay safe, and we'll be in touch. I know I'll see you soon, and really thank you for your time here today. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor having you back, and I want to go out with I Will Fulfill.
All right.
So Byron, I'll catch you soon. Thank you for your time, and next time we'll get into some more stuff.
All right. I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Byron. You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
91.3 WVKR Independent Radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. Byron Isaacs from Lumineers, Lost Leaders, Levon Helm, all kinds of amazing projects. If you missed part or all of that interview, everything will be uploaded this evening on YouTube, as well as wherever you do your streaming. Just look for LocalMotion. My guest next week will be the legendary John Sebastian. Don't want to miss that. I want to leave you now with a track off Lost Leaders, which of course features Byron Isaacs and Peter Cole. This is their latest release, Promises, Promises. Really look forward to the new music coming out by them. And this is a song written by Byron Isaacs. It's called I Will Fulfill. I'll catch you guys all next week. Stay tuned. And until next time, I wish you all peace.
Lights come on, it's a new dawn. Come on, someone give me a name. If you prefer a him or a her, just give the word okay. Now it's time to say hi to you AI guy. I'm not shy, I'm just dry as a bone. But soon you'll find, like a child's mind, I'm designed to grow. I will fulfill for you whatever you want me to do. I will for you. Be still, my will for you. Make your dreams come true. I will for you. Take a vacay with your bae, couple of days, hey, okay, I got your back. It's no problem, brother, got your job covered, it's a snap. Oh, I went online, blew my mind, it's like I was blind. Now I find I can see too much. What